Welcome back to Exploring Whiskies. I'm Eric.
I'm Kevin, and today we have, a very special episode. We're on site at Nashville Barrel Company, and we're joined by Meredith. Before we get started into this episode, today is April 29th. It is World Wish Day. We've been promoting this all month long. Today's the last day to do any kind of donation where we're going to match it. Anything you donate will be matched up to $500. It's an amazing charity. My son's wish actually is kind of what's behind starting this whole channel. So fortunately, he never kind of got to put out his own episodes. But anyway, if you have the means, please donate. Link down in the description. So, Nashville Barrel Company. So we were kind of talking beforehand, and you started 4.5 years ago, but you didn't have a location. So what were you doing with that?
So you put the ball in motion 4.5 years ago. They had this idea. It went from a hobby that was time consuming, and they had their own jobs. James worked in a local liquor store here in town, and Mike was corporate, and they said, look, this went from a hobby to let's roll the dice, invest in actual barrels, not a couple, but an actual run, and see what we can do with it. So at that point, we were using another distillery's facility in the interim. So when we got the chance to jump on this building, they got it. Been working on it for about a year and a few months, and then in August, we actually turned lights on.
It's a nice facility. You guys did a great job with the setup.
Thank you.
And it's still in soft launch mode. So you can still come in. They got tastings. You have not tours, but experiences. I saw everybody's site. I really appreciate, but there's wording means a lot.
It does.
And I think that says something, that it's an experience. So.
It is. You know, we don't necessarily take you through the entire facility. We're not that big compared to some of the other ones. So for us, we wanted to do something a little different with things like infinity barrels, or we've got barrels from other distilleries, which most places don't have other people's distillate on site. You want to promote your own.
Yeah.
But it was due to a lot of friends that gave us the equipment and the bottling machine. We have stuff from Willett, from Four Roses, that really got us off the ground. We had a glass shortage. We used to have the little shorties glass that everybody said, well, what happened to it? I'm like, COVID.
Yeah.
You know, that glass is in demand. So Drew from Willett kind of came to our rescue.
Yeah, we saw that a lot of different things where Wheeler's Raid had the same issue. They changed bottles like 3 times. We saw a lot of that during COVID, just shortage of supplies, things like that. So everybody,
Didn't hear the cork.
I always heard the glass, but I guess cork's probably the same issue, isn't it?
We did. We had I think it was a 6-month delay. We ordered custom corks. So at that point, not all corks fit same glassware.
Right.
So we've got bags and bags of different corks based on different glass we've had to use. So it's been fun.
The joys of doing business in COVID, right?
Right, 100%. But bourbon took off during COVID. It's already been popular, obviously, but we exploded during COVID. So bourbon in general did too. So good for us.
Picked the right time to start.
Been fun though. That's what because the bourbon community is so strong right now that people want to support those kind of groups.
Like I was saying earlier, we did an event here. I guess that was like 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah,
something along those lines, and pulling out of the barrels directly, and just like little tastings here and there. It's very solid. So everything, for the most part, you're sourcing is from MGP?
Everything out right now on the shelf and online is. We have some other barrels in the back that are from other places. Okay.
But for the most part, right now, is there plans at some point to distill your own stuff, or is it sourcing for right now? I know that's a huge investment.
It is. It's a huge investment. A lot of times what will happen is you'll invest in the product, the perfect yeast strain formula. You'll sit on it 5-6 years, and then you try it, and it's not so good. So for us, James will tell you, he said, I never claimed to be a master chef at whiskey, if you will. He said, I know how to pick.
Right.
And I know my palate, and I know what people are looking for. So for me, that's kind of where my forte is, and I'm going to stay on that trajectory.
How did you get into whiskey?
It's not, I guess, the most beautiful story. My husband and I, every football game, I didn't like whiskey in college. I only liked makers.
Okay.
So we would do what we call a halftime shot. So going into the third quarter of football, we would drink shot makers with them and we'd cheers, and that was my I can handle this and choke it down. Well, he went on the bourbon trail and he brought back all these different bottles from places I've never heard of, like you're saying. And I tried some that just blew my mind. Like, I don't know why I like this, but I do.
Okay.
And I said, I taste this, or I get this from it. He looks at me like I'm crazy. It's like, you need to find a group. There's like other little nerdy people that are into this like you. And I did, and I joined a local group here. It was about 150 when I joined. And I would just do tasting notes and put them online for them. And now they're about 7,000 in that group. And they know me as kind of the nerdy one because I'll get into the weeds on my write-ups, and it just exploded from there. And I knew Mike through that group, bottle shares, and I met James through Southern Grist, one of the owners there is good friends with him, and I happened to be having a beer right day, right time, and I got to walk the space here before it opened.
Oh, nice.
And that's when I knew, I'm like,
yeah, this is
coming. I'm working here.
Nice. And then I just saw on, kind of splashed it all over Facebook, you guys won a couple awards out in San Francisco, right?
We did.
So how's that even work? Like that whole process? You're submitting individual bottles?
You do. So we submitted a rum, a single barrel rum, a cask strength, I think it was rye, bourbon, and our cask strength rye. And they all got double gold.
Nice.
Do you know how many competed in this year?
I don't. They just announced it. We knew a week ago, and at this point, they're supposed to be doing some sort of press release on it. So
Okay.
I don't know if they've either not written it yet or if I haven't read it, but I need to. I'd like to know what we were up against.
I read last year's. I don't remember. I haven't seen anything about this year's.
Just happened.
Can we see?
Of course we can.
So
Okay.
I would love to do the Tennessee Bourbon.
I think that we should. So if you guys want to grab some glasses from down there, this is going to be our first. We did this one in, I think it was December. This is going to be cask strength. Gosh, I have to turn it around so we can see it. 115 proof. This went into distribution a couple months ago. So let you guys pour it. The little stopper definitely helps. And this was a blend of, I think it was 6 different barrels, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so obviously you do a lot of single barrel picks, but you also do a little bit of blending to hit a certain flavor profile, or?
We do. So if you think about it, we have distribution knocking on the door, and we had small batch rye that would be in your Bevmo, your Specs, your Total Wine type places, but one barrel is not going to sustain a market or a state. So for us, we've done batches for New York, California, Arkansas, Georgia, Texas. That was a tall order. To sustain that market, you're going to have to put out a consistent batch product. So James goes through and will taste different profiles from the barrel. So he has a pretty good idea of what's in the back. You're looking for something that is approachable. It's going to be cask strength. We're not going to cut it. It's going to be enjoyed by your smoky sippers, your sweet sippers, your dry, your velvety, trying to find that perfect profile for the general public.
So those markets, they're coming here and picking barrels rather than just bottling and distribution?
They will, for the most part, their distribution will kind of give us an idea, and then James will go to the back and create a blend for them, and then we'll bottle it.
So a flavor profile idea? Is that okay? And a quantity, obviously. And then
that's
you know
where
how many barrels to blend together,
exactly.
Right? So within GP, I know there's 2 rye builds. So there's a 36% and 21. Everything you're doing is 21, or most part?
Everything that's out here is 21.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I was gonna say, it's a really light rye note, little spice in the back, but it's not strong.
No, for us, the note of rye normally shows up on the finish for our bourbon. So a lot of times there are some that you'll get that spicy note in the beginning. Those traditionally are the off profile. We have a cult following for those. They end up the smokier, the toastier, the spicier, char forward types. Very popular this winter, believe it or not.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Bonfires, the cigars, the Scotch drinkers,
There's a soft herbal spice in there, but
I get
for the most part, it's pretty sweet.
It does. It smells sweet. Smell a little bit of that charred oak. A little toasty.
not getting a big burn from what was it, 112?
15.
Yeah, you're not getting that at all.
Not a lot of ethanol.
No.
It doesn't drink like that at all. It's very, very smooth on the front.
That's what most people say. They're always shocked. I do the experiences, if you will. And I tell people, I always like to ask them, I said, what do you think that proof's at? And every one of them, if they're not a bourbon drinker, they're like, oh, like 150, you know, because they don't sip it. But the ones that actually drink it, they're like 110 maybe.
Yeah, they're always shooting under.
But the finish is where I get the spice.
Yeah.
Because it kind of hangs a little bit. It keeps
and it kind of comes down and warms
it
up.
does.
And
See,
you
that,
get
I like
a nice
that.
hug.
Sucker for punishment, I like that. It kind of hangs.
Yeah.
From a popularity standpoint, how would this bottle, the street version, how does that compare to what else, the other ones?
What's your best sellers?
It is. So that's what's going to be in all the local stores. So that's what a lot of the local guys will pick up. Our single barrel, so that compared to the single barrel are going to have a little bit more distinct notes.
Okay.
I almost think of it as like DNA. They each have their own little DNA from the barrel itself. So on a single barrel pick, you might get a distinctive mint or a vanilla or a butterscotch. Whereas with these, they're a little more rounded out, and I would say there's no specific notes going to kind of come out and grab you necessarily. Okay. Most popular out front, I would say, is probably the 5-year and the 8-year rye.
Do we know why? Or
they're
just
especially those Kelvin barrels. The 5 years tend to be a little higher proof.
Okay.
The profile is a little more velvety, so it's almost oily. It coats the palate really, really well. They're sweet on the front, and their spice shows up on the finish. And then the proof is 118-ish, so it just has that.
And there's kick to it as well, the warmth at the end.
It is. It's that full-bodied profile, and the finish is there, and the proof is there. So a lot of people will come in, they think they want the 8-year. I want the oldest MGP that you have. And I'm like, well, just try a flight of 5, 7, and 8s. And a lot of times they end up leaving with 5. When I did my picks, you know, for the most part, they're like, you can pick whatever you want from back. And I picked 5-year both times. They just have that bold presence.
Did you know going into it, or did it totally blind? And
I, just being female, I'm like, don't let me know what it is. I said, I know profile-wise that I like the 5 years the best for a bourbon. So I said, turn around. James switched the bungs because I knew what the barrels looked like. I said, I truly want to go on gut instinct on this. And
still led you right there.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a profile for the char toast, or is each barrel different?
I would say each barrel is different. The majority of them are that level 4.
Okay. Okay.
Give that good sweet marshmallowy dessert.
Yeah.
Now, did you have any issues getting barrels during COVID?
Not necessarily. I hear that that's a thing, or will be a thing. We're lucky that we see Mike and James, their minds already looking down the road. Mm-hmm. We invested a while ago.
Gotcha.
Okay. So we've got quite a few barrels offsite. That's why we're scrambling back all that. You can see construction everywhere. Mm-hmm. We're trying to get up and running to have everything brought down here.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah, he's trying to get everything that's stored in MGP pulled down here too, right? Yeah.
That's the goal. Because at that point, you can quality control. You can put your hand on it. You can taste it. You can see where it is.
You can sample it once in a while and make sure, that's not ready yet. All right. So obviously, bourbon's solid. Yeah, you can just. There's a passion. Listening to James as he was just talking at the event I was at 4 weeks ago. He's got a passion for this. It's obvious, yes. Totally obvious. It's obvious you do as well. And then there's two other partners. So
there's Mike, and I call him front of the house boss and back of the house boss.
Okay.
So Mike he's the one behind the labels. He's the one that just does everything for the house, the marketing, he got us online, even though we're in a 3-tier system here. Not fun, but you got to play by the rules. And then Casey is the behind the scenes. He does all of the fun legality portion of all of it. He's in Kentucky, so
the big issues, right?
But there's only, I'd say, on site any given day, there's 5 of us full time.
Okay.
And then we have 2 right now one's almost full time, and then one that helps out as it can. But I mean, that's a lot of production for 5 people.
Yeah. So running a bottler
Oh, there's days where they'll hand sticker. I mean, they'll do hundreds and hundreds of bottles a day. Well, I mean those.
And then they're all. I mean, you're hand labeling.
Hand labeling on tours and experiences. They used to hand label.
It's gotten worse and worse.
They now can print them out.
Okay, that's
but
good.
we hand sticker, and then you hand seal with the cork and the plastic on top. So it does take a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But there are days where you come in, you can do a pick, like that group in the back right now from Australia. If they want to take all that out the door, we would say, go eat lunch, hour and a half, we'll get everything done. And if no one's out here, we'll all go to the back and everybody jumps in.
How many bottles on average do you get out of a barrel? Like they're doing the barrel pick now. How many would they get?
If it's a 5-year, I would say on average about 170 to 180.
Okay. Oh.
You can get over 200.
Losing about 10 each year.
Could, yeah. I'd say 8-year. Well, they picked an 8-year and had 170 something bottles in it, but maybe 150, 160, depending.
Okay.
It really depends. Time of the year too.
Worse when it's warmer?
Because of the fluctuation.
Yeah, because it pulled more into the barrel, right?
I asked James, he said the other day, I asked him about, what he said you can squeeze out maybe 3-4 bottles. It really pushes all that extra distillate out. I said, you've got to be kidding me. That's a lot of whiskey.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We picked a 9-year rye?
Yeah, let's do a 9-year rye. So we actually just did this one. This is going to be a 9-year, 110 proof, barrel 510. This went into our VIP program membership for the month of April. This is actually one of my type of tasting notes. I want you guys just to think about it. If you'd like to have a clean glass, you are more than welcome to. A little bit of char floating around in here. This is the last one from the bottling line, so you tend to get a little bit of that. Okay. We don't chill filter. We use a cheesecloth to get the chunks.
Strain a little bit.
Because you'll get big flakes if you don't use something. But that fine sediment.
Yep.
The only kind of floating something you want in your drink.
Yeah.
That is marshmallow fluff.
Nice and toasty. It smells like a s'more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just missing a little chocolate. It doesn't have the chocolate, but outside of that, I could almost say there's a graham cracker sweetness, that honey sweetness, but the marshmallow is really strong.
And to get a marshmallow note out of a rye, I mean, that's straight rye, that's a 95.5 Nashville. To get something sweet out of that, that's the best of both worlds. You get the sweetness and the spice.
Yeah, and then there's like a good spice when you take a sip, like right down the middle is a nice spice, and then
you just go back to the marshmallow.
And the nice oil coats your tongue.
Those 8-9 years are very oily.
Yeah. What was it? 110. See, now to me, that drinks 110-ish. That drink, probably 105-ish, even though it's 115. It's kind of funny. Rye's, the spice, kind of.
It is. That's what I tell people. I say, the higher the proof on the rye, it's going to amplify that spice. And a lot of times the spice is going to show up on the finish. So that heat, the higher you go, it feels like it's a little higher proof.
That nose is awesome.
Oh. And then I like the finish it hangs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that oil sits there for a while.
It's got longevity, I like that.
Yeah, it's always nice to have a whiskey that sits there and makes you want to have another sip versus one that just disappears and now I have to take a sip because it's gone.
That's it. This is a marathon, not a sprint. The nose.
There's a little herbal in there too, like almost towards that note.
It does. When I first poured it, I didn't get any of that, but now that it almost opened up in that direction for me and let it sit for a minute, it's kind of secondary notes.
Yeah, it's buried in there, but it's there.
Do you guys have signature cocktails?
So we don't yet.
Yeah.
We around town, we've had a couple of hotels do picks with us that put our whiskey in their custom cocktails. Okay. We're in the W, we're in the JW, but we actually behind the mud pit up back on the top of the hill. I don't know if you guys took a drive up there, but we are getting ready to build we call it pavilion, but a bourbon bar.
Oh, nice.
Up there. So this is more of a custom experience here. So I will curate a flight based on what you like, what you're looking for, etc. Okay. Up there will be more cocktails and maybe a couple of drinks.
Okay.
So we're moving in the cocktail direction, but it'll be up there instead of down here.
So like you said, they were thinking years out. All right, here's the next phase. Here's the next phase. Building more rickhouse space to bring barrels in. And fun.
And then at some point, we're going to double it because the tasting bar on a Saturday, I give it a little bit, it'd be slam packed. We're going to take over the parking lot that direction. So we're going to expand all the way out to that drive over there. So we're going to double the bourbon bar, double our barrel pick room. Thinking ahead.
Got to right now. Especially in a business that, I mean, your product needs to be 5 years. Like you got to be thinking 5 years old because your product's going to be 5 years.
It does. You have to. You want to make sure that you've got barrels. You want to make sure that you were able to get product. You know, a lot of people are. MGP used to be a bad word a long time ago. It's not anymore.
I was just talking about that at breakfast with a buddy of mine this morning.
Really?
And he's like, yeah, it was kind of frowned upon.
It was. Yeah. The purists were like, that's not your product. But at the end of the day, if you do a blind, the MGP many times will end up being the winner. It's more about what do you want to drink at the end of the day.
Right.
Not
I also feel like in our experience with, you know, distillers like yourself, I mean, it's really about how you finish it. You're just getting in, you're getting the juice from them, but it's how you finish it with your barrels. That creates that unique flavor.
That's another reason then why I want to bring all of our barrels here. You know, because when we first bought the bourbon, it was 3 years old. I don't know how many 3-year-old bourbons you've tried, but not there yet. It's green. Our 5 years, when we first brought them down, I asked James, we were talking about the natural progression of the barrels, and he said he intended on batching it. You know, because you assume you bring it down to 5 years, probably still a little green, sit on it, batch what you need to, and then when your other ones get a little age on them, then you'll bottle it. Well, he called Mike, he said, you want the good or the bad? And Mike said, definitely the bad. Like, why? What's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? And he said, I'm not batching this. And Mike's like, you know, you're not going to batch this? And he said, well, they're single barrel quality. He said, this is like the best situation that we could be in. He said, we might batch if we need to go into states. He said, but these 5 years, they aged like an older whiskey.
Nice.
So our youngest product was ready when it first came out. Good situation.
I also heard MGP is not accepting any new clients.
Really?
I read that. That was like a month ago.
Interesting.
That they're not accepting new clients, so they're only dealing with established because they need to keep up with the demand, and everybody's asking for more and more and more. So
the tides are changing, but bourbon, it's evolved so much to where it had to be from Kentucky, or it had to be from this one place, or it's not any good. Well, you know, bourbon, a lot of times, I was telling people the other day, they used to just shoot the shot, you know, you're going for a result. But bourbon has almost gone the route of wine, where people are tasting.
Right.
They're wanting notes, they're wanting color, they want to figure out what aroma, what's on the palate, the finishes. You can't just put anything in a bottle anymore and sell it. You have to actually put out a good product. And I like that. You know, it gives variety, and it's already such a wild goose chase to get certain bottles, but with so many other people popping up, that us, you know, a bunch of other ones that give us a chance to get off the grid and like take it and run with it, but it gives people more variety. So you're not having to chase your very rare, you know, only 3-4 barrels of this one product. You can actually go into a local store and get something that tastes good for a decent price and enjoy it.
All right, so I know we're running shorter on time, but you have your own pick.
I do.
Yeah. We'll try that, give that a shot, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah. So I've done 2. My last name is Maxwell, so I did Maxwell, and then this one is going to be maxed out. Mike is the mastermind behind the labels here. Gotta give him kudos. He's clever. Let's see if I can get this. There we go. This is the second highest proof that we've done. It's a 5-year bourbon. It's going to clock in a little over 127.
Okay, so that proved up.
It did.
You barreled at 125. You barreled at 125, or?
I think it was barreled at 125. When we sampled it, it was around 126. But when we actually put it, we used a portable. We used the actual machine back, and then it clocked in at 127.
Wow.
And we tried probably 12 that day or so. And there was one that was a maple note to it that I liked. There was one that reminded James and I both of the Four Roses, and this was the wild card. And I took it on vacation, and I said, there's something about it that I like, and I just don't know why.
Okay.
And that's still the same thing. I don't know why, I just like it.
Don't smell the proof.
No. 127. That's not sharp at all. I mean, it's there. You can tell it's an alcoholic drink, but it's not sharp.
It's not. And the sip, it's warm. but I would never tell you it's 127.
Mm-mm.
And then you get the spice in the finish.
There's a heavy sweet in the very beginning. Spice isn't nearly as strong as that guy.
No.
There's a big difference in that. It's more of like an afternote with a. Ooh,
and then you feel it all the way down.
There's the 127, all the way down the chest. That's nice.
Exactly.
Wow, that drinks really well.
For a 5-year bourbon, I mean, the color's there, the notes there.
Yeah.
I mean, if you sat on some of these, that's why James wanted to go ahead and put them out. The 5 years, they don't need the age. You know, he doesn't care about it being 6, 7 years old. It's when is it at that perfect spot, that sweet spot, you can put into bottling. It's not necessarily about an age statement. It's more about what's in the glass.
Well, I got really fruity though.
I do. There's a little bit dark fruit.
Yeah, dark stone fruit is really what kind of comes through. It's so thick. When you take that taste, that oil is just like.
It's velvety. I like viscosity on my pours. For a bourbon, if it's thin, I feel like it's lacking. Even if the nose is there, the profile is there. I like a good, rich, full body profile.
That makes sense. That's really good bottle.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, now after drinking the 5-year profile, that's why a lot of people want to come in and pick the 5. Just based on
after they sample through the flights and that.
Compared to what you would go to the liquor store and buy, you know, I mean, out of all the variety out there, that's for the price point for what you get in a glass. I mean, and some people will even throw an ice cube in it. I'll add water to it depending upon the proof or the profile, but I always want to try something the way that the distillery intended it on being enjoyed. Exactly, but that's how it's supposed to be.
Yep.
You know, that's what people ask me, like, how am I supposed to drink this? I said, however you want to. If you want to put Coke in it or make it a cocktail, go ahead.
That's your call.
That's exactly
as long as you're enjoying it.
That's why cask strength is so important to us. We give it to you as pure as we can, straight from the barrel, just a cheesecloth, into the bottle. At that point, when you take it home, however you want to drink it, is...
If the proof's a little too much, you want to throw a couple drops of water, feel free. But you get to control it instead of someone deciding, oh no, that needs to be 90.
Exactly. Controlling your pour for you.
Yeah, I don't totally agree with that.
There have been so many times where I try something, I'm like, I just need a little bit more of a kick to this.
Yep, right.
If this was from the barrel proof, this would be an ideal pour.
So I know you said Maker's Mark started you into whiskey. What is outside of Nashville Barrel Company? What's your go-to whiskey? Distillery or something along those lines.
It depends on the mood and the day between bourbons and ryes. Recently, I used to be a Buffalo Trace girl. I still am. I like their mash bills. I've recently been into Heaven Hill.
Okay.
Parker's Heritage, I don't know what it is. The last few that I've tried, I've really enjoyed. I do like mixers. It really depends on what I want to go to, what's on the shelf for the day.
And then the
I'm
opposite.
a mood drinker.
What's one whiskey that you don't have to answer this? What's one whiskey that you had and you were like, why did they decide? We've said this a number of times. Who decided that was the flavor they wanted the bottle at?
There's lots. I've tried a couple wild cards from Texas that weren't on my flavor profile. Like, you tried mine. I like a sweetness to it. I like sweet and spicy. And then one wild.
I've had a little bit of a little chocolate note.
No.
I like that. I'm a sucker for dessert. I'm one of those I could skip dinner and just order a dessert and a bourbon at a restaurant and be good. So that's my profile. Not a big smoky or earthy type of drinker. So anything that's kind of grainy, I'm not a big fan.
Well, we really appreciate you letting us come in and spending some time with us today.
Absolutely.
We've got some great products.
Thank you.
Obviously, you've got really enjoy your products. Yeah.
Come on in for a flight because you're going to be very happy with that.
In good hands, because I'll
yes.
probably be the one point.
Well, we appreciate you guys joining our trip here to Nashville Barrel Company. We hope you enjoyed this session. If you did, we'd encourage you to hit that like button at the bottom of the screen.
If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We put out content like this a couple times a week. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
And if you, again, this is the last day, donate to the Make-A-Wish Foundation down in the link, and we appreciate anything you can give.
All right. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. See you on the next episode. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.